As we extend our application for the travel agency, we add new functionalities and make changes to aspects we had implemented previously. However, we did not test the whole application again after the changes were made in order to ensure that everything we had working before continues to behave as it should. This task may turn out to be quite annoying when the application has grown considerably, because the things to test will be growing also, and we will have to repeat tests over things we already tested, which, despite being necessary, will be quite boring as well. GeneXus aids us in the automation of such tests with a tool called GeneXus. GeneXus allows us to record sequences of operations to test our screens, and then the tests are automatically reproduced as if it were an individual entering data and verifying that the system continues to work correctly. We will now see an example of this. Let's suppose that we want to verify that the discount on a flight is calculated correctly. If we open the flight transaction, we will see that we had defined the flight final price attribute with the following formula. There we indicated that the price of the flight would be calculated using the greatest discount possible. That is, if the airline's discount is greater than the one that's applied. Otherwise, the flight discount would be the one used. We tested this at the time and confirmed the results of the calculations made. Let's try to enter a new flight, saving the entry with GeneXus so that we can repeat it later as a test check. But first, to make the test faster, we go to the rules of the flight transaction and change this control that did not allow entering flights with less than 8 seats. Let's set it to enter a flight with 2 seats, and then save. We now execute the GeneXus Designer tool from our direct access in Desktop. We then create a new project doing Project, New Project, and call it Travel Agency. We now press the green plus sign, select our KB from the folder where we have saved it, and add Travel Agency as description. We then press OK and see that GeneXus is reading data it needs from our KB. And lastly, we receive the message of KB's successful import. We then press OK, and then go back to GeneXus where we press F5 to execute our application. We then open the flight transaction, copy its URL, and paste it in the URL field of GeneXus. We press OK, and we see, to the window's right, that a project called Travel Agency was created with 2 parts, the test cases and the whole set of test data. We right-click on Test Cases and select Record Test Case. We call it Flight Price, add a brief description, check that the adequate discount is assigned to the flight price, and check for the set of data to be auto-generated. We can see that we have a large red button which we will press to start recording our test. We press the red button and see that a window opens in the browser with the screen of the flight transaction in runtime. Let's enter a new flight by selecting the origin country 1, Brazil, and city 1, Rio de Janeiro, and the destination country 2, France, and city 1, Paris. We enter the flight price, 5,000, and a flight discount of 50%. We now select the airline 1, TAM, which, as we can see, has a 30% discount. The flight price shown is $2,500, so a 50% discount was made, which is correct because the flight discount was greater than the airline discount. We enter a couple of seats, and prior to pressing confirm, we will indicate to GeneXus that, in the future, it will have to help us verify if the flight price is calculated correctly. To do that, we select the flight price and press the green check symbol on the GeneXus toolbar in the browser. A new window opens. We select Verify Control Text, and in the description we write, flight, price, checking. We press accept, and then accept again. GeneXus tells us that it added the requested validation correctly. We press OK, go back to the flight transaction screen and press confirm. And we see that all data was successfully saved. We close the browser window and go back to GeneXus. Now in GeneXus main window, we see a diagram representing our entered test case. If we select the component called flight, we see that the commands window details all the steps we went through to enter the flight in the flight transaction. When we entered the flight identifier, flight ID, we press Tab, entered the departure country identifier, flight departure country ID, etc. If we go to the project panel, on the right, below data pools, we click on flight price, and the window corresponding to the set of flight price data will open up, which we use to enter the flight. Well, so far we've entered a flight and stored the entry as a test case. Now let's suppose that, by adding other functionalities to our app, we inadvertently modify the formula that calculates the flight price. And without knowing it, we modify the second division and write 10 instead of 100. GeneXus may help us in detecting these types of errors. After generating a new version of our application, GeneXus helps us to verify that everything we had done that is not part of the new changes continues to function correctly. We will first press F5 to update our application with the change. And next, we will execute again the test case we had entered in GeneXus. We select the Flight Price tab and click on the play button that is on the top left of the screen. We will see that the browser window opens up, showing the flight transaction screen, and the automatic execution of the test case starts, with the automatic entry of the same data we had entered before, just as if there were an actual person doing it. If we notice the values, we will see that flight price was not calculated correctly and now has a value of -20,000. When the test case is over, the designer window in GeneXus is activated again. So, we click on it, and it will show the result of the test done on a tab called Flight Price Results. We can see that in the results column there is a symbol of an insect representing that a bug was found. In the left panel, we click on the plus sign next to flight price, and we will see that several options open up. We double-click on flight, and GeneXus will open a screen where we can see the screen we tested, in this case the flight transaction, with the steps that comprise the test performed and the time used in each step, along with the results. If we lower the bar, we will see the error in validation of the flight price, including an indication of what the expected value was and the actual value obtained. If we double-click on the error line, below we will have a display of the browser screen with the value that was not calculated correctly. We can see that when we execute this type of regression test, GeneXus helps us to verify that, upon any change made to the system, things that were already functioning properly in fact continue to do so. This test gave us a clue about the calculation of the flight price, so now let's go to the flight transaction to check our code and fix the error. Let's edit the formula of the flight final price attribute, set the value of the divisor in 100 again, and press F5. And now let's execute the flight price test again from GeneXus. We can see that now there is a new Flight Price Results tab with the new test results, and that these results are in fact correct. If we open the flight price case to see its detail and select the line where the flight price may be verified, in the browser window we can see that the value was calculated correctly and now shows 2,500. Specifically, if we open the set of data we used for the test by double-clicking on flight prices, we could easily add new values to the test. We click, and add the same values, and we will set a 40% discount, and the fact that the price will now have to be $3,000. This way, we can make our tests as complete as we wish. GeneXus is a great ally in helping us make our application reliable and in reducing the time necessary for testing, thanks to the possibility it provides to easily generate and execute automatic tests. It also ensures that in the event of changing the GeneXus version, or if there is a change in platforms, our app will continue to function as expected. To learn more about this, go to the URL shown on screen.